take the stick out your ass and just have some fun.
This is Jackie of All Trades, a podcast that explores the multi-creative identity and the rise of the portfolio career among millennials and Gen Z in the creative industries. I'm Katura, a DJ, creative, strategist, CEO, and self-described Jackie of All Trades with a 10-year portfolio career spanning music, digital marketing, and cultural strategy. On this podcast, I speak to people who have also designed their own careers and are successfully juggling multiple creative pursuits to understand what it takes, what they've learned, and how you can do the same. This season, I'm joined by writer, content creator, podcaster, and author Tolly T, DJ, radio broadcaster, TV presenter, A&R, and music label owner Jamz Supernova, journalist, writer, strategist, and director Natty Kasambala, and DJ, writer, artist manager, music label owner, and cultural curator Elijah. This is episode 4, the final episode of the season. On the previous episode, we spoke about mindset and making it all work. This is episode 4, the final episode of the season. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to be reflecting back on our guest's journey and the advice they would give to their younger selves, any of their creative pursuits that they want to stop or anything new that they want to start, and finally, their advice for the next generation of multi-creatives. Reflecting back on your journey so far and the successful portfolio career that you've built, what skills have been essential for getting you to this point?
I know it's a boring one, but I think being organised, like people don't talk about, like, everyone doesn't want the creative to be business astute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not seen as cool to have a business mind and be a creative, you know? You should just be like zany and just, it just happened and you know, and you just think about the idea, you know, but you don't think about like the actual strategy. And I think you can be both. Not everyone is that, but but you can be both. Like, because and I think I sit in the middle of being a creative and a strategist at the same time. I think that works for me in my favour. But yeah, I'm very organised. I am an organised person. I thrive off of lists. I get happy. I buy new pens, new notebooks, and I have an Excel or a Word doc for everything, you know, and the way in which I file stuff, you know, like get a kick out of my Google Drive and all the music that I've ever played is all in there, you know, like, so I think that being, but to do it all, you have to be organised. I do think that, do you know what I mean? So I think, yeah, that's really important. And knowing how to use your own time, like, you know, not waiting for someone to tell you to do something. Like, so it's like setting out your own day, being your own boss. And it's like being like, okay, so on this day I need to do this day I need to set aside some time for this day I need to do this day I need to do that. I think that's really, really important in being able to get all those things done. So like, being in charge of your own day, trying not to wait for the deadlines to come to creep up. Obviously, you know, if you are procrastinating, then have the conversation with yourself. Why are you procrastinating? Oh, because it doesn't need to be done now. Okay, so it doesn't need to be done now. Then what does need to be done now? You know, like having that like internal dialogue. Because there are some things that you're like, I can't. Sometimes I need the urgency of a deadline to get it done. But there's other times when I'm like, but come on, it's not that hard. Just do it.
Get it done. Yeah,
get it done. What other skills? I wouldn't say necessarily a fast learner, but the want to learn.
Okay.
In the areas of going into places that I've always wanted to learn. And I am open with myself that I might not be the best right now. But I'm going to do the work to become better.
Yeah.
And I think that's been good with the DJing, with the A&R and with the radio, you know. I'm a sponge. I'm going to like take it all in. I'm going to like try and find out as much information about it. To try and be like knowledgeable in it eventually. And then I think with knowledge comes confidence. It's like, I was interviewing this amazing pianist the other day, keys player, Joe Jones, and he's like really, like phenomenal. And I was like, what is it that, how do you become great? You know? And he was like, it's like being comfortable with your instrument.
Right.
So in all those areas, I'm trying to be comfortable with my instrument. And that comes from like giving it the time and allowing yourself to learn.
Is confidence a skill? No, it's not a skill.
Or I guess, skills or what things?
I think, do you know what? If I'm honest, curiosity. Because I feel like curiosity makes you want to be like, oh, what's that about? Oh, what are they doing at that company? Oh, how can that, like, as in, like, there is, I think that's one of my biggest things. See what's happening outside of you. See what opportunities there someone else is getting. Okay, cool. They can get that. That means that company is doing this and that band can do this. Okay, cool. How can that benefit me?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. I just think just to be curious about whatever space you're in. If you decide that your space is going to be making mugs, what materials gets used for this one? Just like, and like, you just have to be being interested is so important. And I think that's what a lot of things lack. When you just lose interest, then you don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. I've just been curious about everything I've done. Like, oh, okay, cool. Because now, even after doing that short time in marketing, I see things. I'm like, I wonder what the procedure was like behind that. Like, do you know what I mean? Nothing feels like, oh, it just happened, because I'm so curious about it now. I want to know, oh, what agency did that? And how come they did that? And I was in marketing very short.
Yeah.
But it was just like, just to be curious about it, I think.
A sense of discernment, and like, I think we talked about with imposter syndrome, that idea of comparing yourself to others, which I actually don't think is necessarily, it's like inherent to imposter syndrome. Okay. I think like mine is definitely more of like am I qualified to do this? And a skill that I think I have, or that I hope that I have, is that I'm a little bit less concerned with what other people are up to.
Okay.
And I think the more that I do that, the more happy I become in the work that I do. Because it's like, I think so many career paths, so many types of achievements, so many kind of markers of success that we have are based on the external. And I've always been like, and the more I learn about how I'm motivated and what makes me get out of bed and do work, is like, it's very little to do with what comes out the other end. I'd way rather enjoy the process than like just the outcome and what goes out in the world. So I think that's one of the main things that has allowed me to like leave a career that people go like, oh, wow, about, or like not take a job that someone's going to pat me on the back for just because it looks good, but actually I'm going to be crying in bed for 5 weeks to do it. And I think that's my most valuable skill that I want to keep as I go.
I think it's like not fearing any particular like bit of like learning or knowledge or something, or even thinking that because someone's core thing, that they can do your idea better than you.
Right.
So like I see this all the time with like designers or something, where if I said, oh, design a cover, they wouldn't do something that would be useful to me. They might do something that's like amazing design or something that is like aesthetically pleasing, but it wouldn't serve the function of what I need as like an artist or, you know, for my craft. And I have this battle all the time. It's like, well, actually the yellow square does the most of the heavy lifting for me. So I don't need to pay someone to design anything for me now. I'll just do it myself on these little scribbles, and it gets the job done for what I need to do. Whereas like a lot of people be like, whoa, actually I'm gonna get this guy who's, you know, got something hanging at the tape. It's like, you can, like, but is that gonna be effective for your work, you know? So that's like been helpful. And then again, I'll say I've been slow on certain things because I am like an early adopter, but I'm not like I will know what these things are, but then not engage with them. So I'll know, like I knew like about TikTok and blockchain technology and all this kind of stuff. But it takes me a while to like find the language for it or find a thing to use it. Like, but even though I know it's there from early. So people, oh, like, well, if you bought this at this time, then you would be rich. It's like, yeah, maybe, but I wasn't in that headspace at that time. So I wouldn't have actually. And yeah, again, sometimes it's like, it's good to know, but it's actually just good to try.
What advice would you have given your younger self at the start of your journey? And is there anything you would have done differently?
I said, chill out, dude. God, stop tight. Just take the stick out your ass and just have some fun. Or lean into the fun you're having. You are having fun. Be aware of the fun that you're having. I would have said that. I mean, like, I wouldn't do anything differently, and I don't have any regrets or anything like that. But stop putting people ahead of yourself sometimes. Okay. I think I've always been a platform for other people. And I've always been about like platforming other people. And I think sometimes it wouldn't have been a bad thing to platform myself. Nice. You know, and I think that sometimes maybe that's the downside of working in production. I have to remind myself that I am the talent.
Yeah.
I have to say to myself in the mirror sometimes, you know, oh, I'll just put the, don't worry about it. No, I'm the talent.
I hear that.
And that's okay to be the talent. I've worked this hard, like, you know. But yeah, so I think some of the things that I'd done, I put the center around other people. Which wasn't a bad thing as well, because it built the relationships, but it wouldn't have been a bad thing to every now and again be like, and here I am.
Probably dream bigger, you know? I feel like when I was younger, I was kind of like, I remember I had this version, and this was up until I was like early 20s, where that the version of my life was going to be, I always had it, I would come back from work, whatever, like from my editor job or whatever, and I will come to the station and my partner will be picking me up at the station. And that was just a version of my, like I had, and when I think of stuff, I can see it. And every time I would like come out of that station and it wasn't happening, it didn't happen, I felt like I hadn't done it yet. Like I hadn't achieved this dream yet. And that was going to be, my partner was going to, and then like, maybe like my kid was in the back seat and I was like, whatever. Cute. And that was just that's just a version of what I had in my head, whatever. And I think that's still a beautiful version. I'm not saying it's not something I don't want, but like dream bigger.
Like a bigger train station?
It could have been a bigger train station. It could have been an airport. It could have been anything.
Could have been an airport.
Why was it this train station?
I think that's probably a reflection of where you live.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming from London.
Yeah, to pick me up. Yeah, it was such a like, it felt like such a like a major thing to go into London to work sort of thing. Yeah. So I definitely would say maybe like dream bigger.
Prioritizing myself earlier and like learning how to be well while you're doing stuff. I think I wouldn't have done anything differently because I think I needed to, I don't want to glamorize like overwork, but I needed to kind of have multiple plates spinning in order to get to a point where I could leave one and still support myself. But at the same time, there's definitely a massive culture in music specifically of like, kind of just like grinding to the detriment of your health, your mental health, like your physical health, like the things that I learned from just even moving out and moving in by myself and like implementing weekends back and like doing really simple things like that, and how much better it made me at just working all the time is crazy to me. And it's something I'm learning like literally in the last few months. And I think if I had been able to do that way earlier, I would be able, like, I don't know, just have a bit more of like a healthy, wholesome life.
Making time and making more friends in this thing. Like I've just done my own thing. I'm not really, I've been present, but I haven't. Sometimes when people are like, oh, let's go and get a beer. And I just don't. I just stay in my area and just with my friends and you know what I mean, and just chill. Or whatever, I'm busy doing something else. And I've made other things a priority, but if the social part of all of this stuff does mean something, like it does, like I understand like why people think it's important to be at the party or to go to, like that is important. That just something I never really did. And I just don't know, like so many people are like, oh, do you know this person? I'm like, nope. You know that person? All right. No, I literally don't know that many people in the music industry because I'm not socially immersed in it. And that's what's funny, like some of the critique I get of the work is like, who is this person? What do they know about this? Because they don't know me. But then obviously the work checks out, but I don't have like a Soho House membership. I'm not like going to I'm not going to be at any party in a noticeable way. If I go to like whatever, some event that a lot of famous people are at, I'll be either like drinking, just dancing with like normal people. I'm not going to, make an issue of myself. I never like really introduced myself to anyone. You know what I mean? I've never been like, oh, hey, I'm Elijah, I do this. This is how I could help you. Or this is like, no, I've never done that in my life once. And it shows in my career that when I could have maybe taken the initiative and articulated myself better in public spaces.
So thinking about your current slashes and everything that kind of comprises your portfolio career, is there anything that you, now or eventually want to stop pursuing, or anything that you want to start doing or do more of?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's definitely, I'm kind of in this like real transitionary phase, I think, which can be quite frustrating at times because, again, it's going back to like, there's a destination over there, but until I can't get there until I do this, and I need to just focus on doing this, and I'm going to have to park that over there for now. So I want to streamline the radio. I do a lot of radio, so I would like to streamline it. I'd like to streamline it. That's what I can say right now. I'm going to be streamlining the radio. I would like to do more TV. I'm really kind of looking at TV. But I say I use TV like not necessarily the traditional sense, more visual work. I've got a lot of ideas, a lot of documentaries, a lot of things that I want to do in that space. And I think that's a really good kind of like next step for me. Like being on Six is amazing because you're more visible and, you know, I say like not household name, that sounds a bit silly, but like more of England.
Some great video coverage at Glastonbury on Six, I'll say that.
You know, more of England know who I am, so I want to kind of lean into that now. Like all the times I was told people need to know who you are to be on TV, like I think people kind of know a little bit more now, so let me...
that profile,
so let me explore that different side of making content. There's that. That's kind of like my real sort of next thing that I'm really kind of focusing on. But yeah, I think, you know, being a slashie is amazing, but I love it all. And I'll always be a slashie because I think that's just what fulfills me, and financially is what is the best thing for me to do. I couldn't just do radio and I couldn't just be a DJ. I would always be doing something in the side, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with a child now, I really need to be thinking about time and impact. Can I work less and make the same?
Yeah.
That's my long-term goal, is to work less and make the same, you know. Work seasonally, have seasonal time that we can really spend together, because that's really important. I don't know if all the work that, and sometimes when I break it down, like I do lots of like itty bitty bits of work, and actually if I break it down, like all that time could really, is there one thing that could make me back that money? Do you know what I mean? If I really put my mind to it. And I think it might be a case of me having to take a little bit of an L. Right. I might have to lose some money to gain some more money. And I need to be comfortable with that, and that does scare me a little bit. Especially with this, what do you call it? Cost of living. We all feel it in different ways, and you know, I don't want to. I've always not wanted to like sacrifice the quality of life where possible. But there might be a point where I need to be a bit of a realist and be like, right, you need to earn. In order for you to zigzag here, you're going to have to take a step back on this. But whenever I've taken a risk, I've always been rewarded.
I can't think of anything I want to stop doing, to be fair, even though I should. I can't think of anything I want to stop doing. Something I would like to do. I want to try my hand at presenting. I think I'd be fun at it. Yeah, I'd love to try my hand at presenting, so I don't know what that looks like. I think I want to try my hand at that.
To me, that feels like a natural
thing, right? Yeah. I feel like
podcasting, like it's...
Yeah, I think I'd want to... That's something I haven't... I mean, I do it here and like as in a host thing or stuff like that, but I think I would like to see what that looks like.
Any particular like genre or type of content?
I love documentaries, right? Because I think those are really good ways of telling stories. I want to do something where I'm presenting something, I'm going around the world and a theme is there. And I just think documentaries are so interesting. That's that. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
I never know, you know. I'm always like that person who is like, you know, people are like, oh, is this the career that you want to do forever? I've always been that person who's like, if I want to become a therapist in 10 years' time, or I had another one the other day I thought about, which was like a postman or something, you know, like if I want to quit, I'm totally about that non-linear stuff. So I think I don't really know if I'll be doing this forever or what parts I'll be doing forever. But I don't think there's much out there anymore that I'm like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, like I think for a while, like especially when I was at a label, I would look at, you know, someone who's writing an article, or I would look at a video and I'd be like, oh, I want to be a part of that. And I think hopefully the seeds that I'm sowing at the moment allow me to kind of grow into the areas that I'm most interested in. But there aren't that many things, except everyone asks me if I can DJ and I can't, but I think I give off that vibe. So maybe one day I'll learn how to DJ just so I can be like, just spin a couple tunes.
Well, eventually I'll just not, like I guess over this time I could have like taken on new artists, but I've never done that. I've just stuck with the people that I started out with pretty much. Because I'm not seeking any new clients in that way, it kind of, there's like it's like not new work. There's a lot of repetition and a lot of like relationships that I already built to make that quite straightforward. In terms of like starting things new, I guess like, yeah, I guess stuff in just technology just interests me. I've always like tried to, I've never worked for a company properly. Like I've never worked for like a corporation. People are like, oh, why would you want to work for a corporation? It's like, well, that's like a big thing to miss out on socially and like culturally, like to not understand like how these things work from the inside. Obviously, you can use some. Again, it's like once you've seen internally what it looks like and why the things are the way they are, then you probably create differently. So for the right thing, I definitely would like to spend some time with a company that makes products that we all use. That would be sick. Especially if we get to do something really like creative and interesting and fresh.
What capacity would you want to join or be a part of it?
I guess some creative service is such a wide term. I guess it depends what it is. But if it was like launching something new, so like if Google was launching a new music product, then it'd be like, hey, how do you make people use? Like let's say Google was making their own version of Ableton, and you could just log into your Gmail, and then the next tab had a music making software, and they want to onboard people into that and get people excited and make content around that. Would be sick. Or some sort of creative around that, or what the program even looks like, how it works, and how it integrates with your other things. That would be sick. I might have just given away a billion pound idea there, but
I was gonna say.
you know what I mean? That's just off the top of my head. But yeah, I'll know it when I see it, and or something like in the Web3 space because it's just new. It's a bit Wild West vibe, and it's one of these things that could, if it changes the world in any meaningful way, again, I would have been so close to it and in it and reading about it and consuming and then not, yeah. And I don't want that to happen. Imagine if Graham played out in the way it did, and I just went and worked a normal job, I would have been so gutted because I'd be like, it's right there. So with Web3 is obviously a much bigger platform, infrastructure, set of ideas, philosophies. So to be that close and then not do anything significant in the space.
The multi-creative way of being or building a career is definitely more common these days between millennials and Gen Z, and they're growing up in a time where they can create whole careers from a mobile phone. People have access to brands and to audiences and are able to monetize that and are able to showcase their skills on platforms like TikTok, whether it's, cooking or, knitting, history lessons, there's all sorts. So what advice would you give to the next generation of Jack and Jackies of all trades?
Start now. Do you know what I mean? In terms of when I say that, someone said, that's quite an easy thing to say, just start now. But I mean, start with what you have right now. Do you know what I mean? You're starting with what you have for this podcast. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really, you can make a radio show if you want to be on radio, you can make a radio show from home. You could, it might not be in the way that you want to make it, but there is a way of you making a radio show at home. You can record into your voice mic app. You can download free editing software. You can, put songs and drag and drop songs into it and build a show. So I would say, just start doing what the big thing that you want to do, start the smaller version of it now. And what would that look like? And I think that's really important, because then that's the first thing people say to you is when you say, I want to do this, but show me what you're doing then, So I think that's I want to start that magazine, start a blog, start a WordPress, want to start a podcast, use your phone, and use the technology, like we said, that things are becoming so much more cost effective and easy to make. Half the stuff I film on the road and stuff is on my phone. It's clear. It's great.
HD.
So use the technology that's at your fingertips. Be across stuff when, technology's moving. If it's going to make it easy and more accessible for you to get into what you want to get into, even if you want to DJ, go down to Pirate Studios. It's I think it's off peak. It's £7 an hour or something like that. Just plug in some USBs, get a YouTube tutorial up, and have a go.
Yeah.
But starting is the hardest thing.
I've got this big thing when I see a lot of content creators and they do this thing where it's what do you guys want to see from me? I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I think, do what it is that you want to do and your audience will find you. I think there's this big need to be especially when you've got the audience, okay, what do they want from me sort of thing. Yeah. And I think when you're not doing something that you want to do, Like all of my favourite content creators are things that I'm like, no, I can tell she's enjoying this. I can tell she believes this. Like she's having a good time here. This feels like hers. And I feel like we live in, and it's such a waste, right? We live in such a society of like little niche groups. There's not one way to be anything anymore.
Yes.
There's so many services. Like you're gonna find somewhere you fit in. And that's one thing podcasting has taught me. There is a podcast just about like biscuits and they do numbers. Do you know what I mean? Like there's like, it's such a like little, like there's like, there was like little niche things that you can be into. And I think that's the thing, like it's so cliche, right? But just do what it is that you want to do and your audience will find you. Like there is, I get it, right? There's this thing to be like, oh, see, that thing is doing well. Let me try that thing.
Yeah.
But it's so transparent when you're not into it.
I hear that.
Like the longer you is that you're able to do what it is that you're in this thing for longer. Because you're your own captain. This is what I want to do. Rather than being like, because you fit in and then that goes out of trend, you have to find the next thing that's now trendy, you have to do that again, sort of thing. And there is like a big thing in like, I understand that it feels like a numbers game, but there was something in having a core. Just having a core, even if it's just like 250 people, that just mess with everything you do. That is better than someone that's got 1 million followers and it has 30 people that like it. Like the ratio is different.
Yeah.
You just find your core.
I think it's just like thinking laterally about how you make money and enjoy. Like I think we've got very specific or set rules on like doing things for enjoyment or doing things for financial benefits. And I think the more that we continue to kind of blur those lines and like figure out how to be commercially viable with the passion projects and vice versa, how to like make sure that we are still spiritually like fed from the things that pay well. I think the more that we can do that, like the better off we'll all be in terms of just like being well-rounded people who get to not have to sacrifice either being rich or either being comfortable or being able to support yourself with like, you know, being happy in your career. So I think the advice I would give is just like keep challenging those kinds of boundaries and finding new ways to like innovate in how you like express yourself that way. And that thing of just like, just don't pay attention to what anyone else does. Like be internally motivated, not externally.
Yeah, I guess having like a hard skill, like something that the work that no one wants to do, the unsexy work, and then also being creative at the same time. So obviously not everyone, but a lot of people are creative or going down that path, singing songs, making beats, but then they don't have like, Excel skills or Salesforce or some sort of project management or coding or something. Something that is just basically always going to keep you employed or high skill and demand is just foundationally a good thing to have. Because not every, like, there's art in that too. There's art in like being organized. There's art in like being employed and making money and not having to use your creative just to pay your bills. To be honest, like it's a slippery slope. And for most people, it doesn't work out like that. Most people, you have a job or you have some sort of core thing that you do, and then the creative that you do like alongside or on the side. So any artist, I wouldn't say, well, just be artist and just record in the studio all day. I don't think that's smart. You need to be engaging with people, engaging with what's been made, what people will buy in, what people like care about. If you're just sitting in the studio and making beats all day, I don't know how like you can really connect with people. You know what I mean? And I guess when you're seeing people that are already established, you kind of, like I was saying to a young DJ on the weekend, it's like, do all the things that the headliners don't do. So there's a lot of reasons why like a big act won't do the certain things that you would do. So you can do that and that might get you to that stage. If you try and do what they do, they've already occupied that space. So don't even bother competing with them. Like you go into all the corners that they're not while you're in this space now. And like, that's how you carve your USP. If you're just trying to chase, whatever, the biggest DJ, they're always going to be one step ahead of you. You know what I'm saying? And it's weird, like when the changing of the guard happens, DJ-wise, it's usually through new distribution or it's through a new idea. It's not just because they've done exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
They're like, no. If you followed the DJ EZ formula, you wouldn't be bigger than DJ EZ. So don't.
Throughout the entire season of this podcast, the main thing I've learned is there's no right or wrong way to do things. And that's evident with all our guests. Some are about experimenting, others have gone into this with a clear goal in mind. Ultimately, it's about figuring out what works for you and creating a portfolio career that encompasses all of the things that you want to do. If you enjoyed this season of the Jackie of All Trades podcast, please share it with a cousin, auntie, uncle, friend, or even foe. I'll be back soon for season 2, but until then, make sure you subscribe because we've still got more content to release. And make sure you're following us on socials as well at JOAT Podcast UK. I'm Couture, thank you for watching.